Hello, in this video I'm going to do a continuation of my how to build a tank series. Um, Maybe my last video in the series, I'm not sure. We'll see where I end up by the time I'm done. If I can think of anything else that needs to be covered, then I may do a fourth video. We'll see. Um, Before I start, I'm going to do something that I normally do at the end of my videos recently. I'm going to try plugging this at the very beginning. I am trying to raise awareness on some of the Elder Scrolls Online songs that I have created and made videos for. I have reorganized how my YouTube channel is laid out. If you're interested in the game and enjoy playing the game, uh, give give some of these songs that I've done a listen. They're a lot of fun to listen to while playing the game or just in general. If you're into the Elder Scrolls Online, I guarantee you're going to like at least one of them. Give them a listen, see what you think. If you go to my YouTube channel, it is the very first rail that is on my page now. If you're not interested in that, you can go down one lower, and that's where all of my playlists are. Those are all my organized playlists. If you ever want to know what I have for tank videos, healer videos, DPS videos, all of that, when you get onto my YouTube channel, just go down to the second rail and you should be able to see where all of my content is there. So now that I've got that over with real quick, now let's get into the tank video that I'm going to do here. I'm going to start off with CP points. Um, we'll start off with the blue tree. The green tree really doesn't matter too much other than make sure you have your passives filled in for making your food and your potion efficiency here. These are now passive. You don't have to slot them, so this can help you in combat by not having your food drop off as quickly or your potions maybe not being consumed, and so you keep potions longer. Um, Repairing your gear could be cheaper, which if you don't have as much gold, this could help. That's pretty much the only thing that's going to help you in combat. This one right here is going to help you when you're out of combat. So if you've got the points to use, I would plug this in and slot it for sure. Um, but that's pretty much it for the green tree. Most of these don't really do much for you in combat, with the exception of these two right here. Kind of make sure that you don't have to renew them as often. So let's get into the blue tree. So anybody who doesn't really kind of know how this is laid out, the left-hand side of the screen where this sword is, or staff rather, it's a staff. If you can see, here's the handle down here and it comes up and his hand is right here. All of this is for healers, pretty much. And then this stuff is damage focused, and then this up here is damage focused up here. But right here in the center where his body is, these are all tank focused CPs. And what I recommend for every PvE tank is to slot Ironclad, which is inside the um, staving death node here. You go here and it's just over to the 2 o'clock spot here right on the shoulder. Fill this in and slot it, and that will reduce your damage taken by 6%. That's all types of damage. Doesn't matter, or pardon me, it is direct damage right there on the screen. Direct damage taken. So that is instant damage that happens right away. Um, so keep that in mind. Then there is area of effect damage taken, or pardon me, this is single target damage. And then this one is damage over time, and this one is area of effect. I got these two backwards. This is single target, this one over here. So we have Ironclad, then we have Duelist rebuff for single target damage. Damage over time is Enduring Resolve, and then Unassailable, which is your area of effect damage. Each one of those will reduce your damage taken in by 6% in those respective categories. Now, one quick little side note, if you are not at the resistance cap, this Bulwark Slottable may be something that you need to look into. Just depends on what your build is looking like. You want to make sure you are at the 33,000 resistance cap. If you are using the Soldier of Apocrypha skill line, you likely are probably having no problem being at the resistance cap. So if that is the case, then you can slot these three that make it kind of look like a smiley face here, and then add in Ironclad, and those are your 4 slottables that you will both that will be the most beneficial. Okay, so some other ones that could be helpful. This one will increase your maximum stamina a little bit. I'm not sure what other, perhaps your increased your healing here might help, depending on what you've got going on for heals. This one here could increase your survivability if you're doing a lot of direct damage. Some of these other ones down here are really niche. It just depends on your build and your situation. But for the most part, it's pretty much slot these 3 here and you're good to go. For the red tree, I pretty much always slot these 2 on every single build, no matter what I'm doing. It gives you the most armor and max health. Both are going to help you to get to the resistance cap. You may get away with not slotting this because you may be over the uh, resistance cap. However, I will just say as a little side note, it's always nice to just have a little bit more tankiness walking around in case something pops you unnoticed. You might be a little bit more able to eat it rather than if you just walk around low and then you have to buff all the way up a lot further. So keep that in mind. This is something that may or may not be useful. I like to slot it just because I like to be a little bit more tanky walking around. Some alternates for this. Slippery is really good if you have a lot of stuff that stuns you. For example, if you're tanking Talaria and Dreadsail Reef on Veteran, when you're running around the end or running around the ring and getting snared by the the maidens that are around the edge. Um, this will help you with that. Also, another one is this expert evasion will give you a free roll dodge. This one is really good in Rock Grove if you're roll dodging Zelvaka's swats or things like that. Any fight where you're going to roll dodge a lot. Perhaps maybe Falgrim hard mode in Kind's Aegis. There's some parts there where you need to roll dodge a little bit. So keep that in mind. Those could be optional slottables there. I tend to keep the same 3 slottables. This one usually never leaves my bar because it makes my shields bigger, and that is always a good thing. Now the kind of flex spot here is the number 4 spot. For boss fights, I always use Bracing Anchor, pretty much, unless I'm in a situation where the damage is just not that high. If you're doing like a AA or something like that, an Ethereum Archive, you probably don't need to slot this, and you could put something else that's going to help you. This one here is what I tend to slot. Celerity is what I tend to slot for ad pulls, just to keep me moving quicker instead of the bracing anchor, because the bracing anchor will lower your ability to move around when you're blocking. It does give you a lot of block mitigation, so it is helpful there, but it will reduce your movement speed quite a bit. So just keep that in mind. So those are the 4 CPs for the red tree that I recommend. If you're in a situation, maybe you're tanking dungeons and doing some hard modes with 3 DPS, you may want to put this one on if you've got the ability to slot it, helping your team out getting a res if you can afford to do it. Just depends on your situation. There's not really a this is good for everything. The setup that I'm suggesting here is a good kind of overall general, but there is always a niche situation where you may be able to pop something else on that could be more beneficial that you may need there. So that's the CP coverage that I'm going to do there. The next thing I'm going to talk about is block mitigation. And this is an important topic because if you don't get this category here handled properly, you can really, really be super squishy as a tank, and even as little as 5 to 10% difference here makes a world of difference of how survivable you are. Now, I will say that the cap on block mitigation is 90%, and that is fairly difficult to get to unless you build a certain way. So there's a couple of things that I can do to show you how you can get to the cap really quickly. Their top 3 absolute easiest ways to get block mitigation if you are close like this, if you're wanting to get all the way to that 90% cap, there's a couple of things you can do. Number 1 is you can slot a skill, and that skill is in the heavy armor skill line, and it's this very top one. The original base morph is called Immovable, or pardon me, Unstoppable. And now when you morph it to Immovable, what you get a 6-second window when you activate this, and it will give you a ton of block mitigation. So if you see the very bottom paragraph here, each piece of armor that is in the heavy category that you wear will increase your block mitigation by 5%. But it also increases the snare potency. So you have to be aware of that. So I'm just going to put this on here on my bar, and I'm going to show you my block mitigation on my front bar is at 82%. And so I'm going to put that on and then go in here. And as you can see, I'm up and over 90%. So that extra 4.5%, I actually don't get credit for because it caps at 90. Now you might be asking, okay, well, why did it drop off so quickly? Because if you read the skill here, this portion only lasts for 6 seconds for the immunity to snares. So the 6-second benefit is all you get. The rest of the time it will give you major resolve. So you put that on, you see that little bubble right there on my character. It drops off here like that, and then I no longer have the extra block mitigation. So that's one way that you can do that. Now, one more thing about this. As you can see, it's 5% per piece of heavy armor, and I am wearing 5 pieces of heavy armor. And you might ask, okay, why is it that I'm sitting at 82%? Why isn't it just jacking me up all the way to 100%? Well, the reason is every time you stack into this, it gets added multiplicatively. Meaning it starts from whatever you resulted from your last buff. So currently I'm sitting at 82%. So let's say I'm going to take a hit that unblocked and everything would be 100,000 damage roughly. So that's going to leave a hit on my character that is only 18,000 left. So if I'm going to take another 25% off of that, it's going to take 25% of the leftover value of 18,000, not the total 100. So that's how that works. So you're only going to lose another 4,500 off of that 100,000. So it actually only becomes 4.5% in that value. So it's kind of a weird scaling thing there. So keep in mind on that. When you stack into that category, it gets harder and harder to get this to go up, because that's how it works in this game. It's a multiplicative thing. It's not an additive thing. You can't just take, for example, this skill does 25% block mitigation, and then this bracing anchor here does 20, so that's a total of 45%. That's not how it works. You have to figure out the resulting of what you're left over. I know it's kind of a confusing way of doing it, but that's how it actually works in the game. So that's my first method, is to use the immovable skill. Make sure you use the immovable skill. The other morph is not as good. I can pull up my... I'll have to look into the skill to see what I don't remember what the other morph does off the top of my head, so I can just tell you that it's just not as good as this one. This is the better morph to use, for sure. So moving on, I'm going to show you another method, is to use a mythic item, and that is called Syrabane's Ward. And why this is good is because whenever you hold block, you gain 30% block mitigation. Okay, so I think I have this piece of gear on my character so I can actually show how this works. No, it's not on him. Maybe I put it in my cover. I'll go check here. So all you have to do is be holding block in order to... it must be on one of my other tanks. Anyway, so all you have to do is be holding block, and then you will get the benefit of the 30%. Anybody that's standing in the ring that it creates also gets the benefit of the block mitigation. They also get health recovery. You don't get the health recovery, but they do. Now, the only setback of this mythic is when you are blocking and you are wearing this mythic, you absolutely 100% cannot move. It snares you 100%. You cannot move. So there are certain fights where you have to be able to move, where this is not going to be a good idea to wear. So just keep that in mind. There could be some fights where this is really good to wear, where you need a block mitigation all the way up, but you don't really have to move a whole lot. Then give this a try and see if it works for you. It does create a 12-meter ring, so if your group is close enough, they could also benefit from that as well. The last bit of how I can tell you to get to the block mitigation cap is in your subclassing choices. If you choose the Templar and go with Restoring Light, the passive here for the Sacred Ground, this increases your block mitigation by 10%, and all you really have to do is use the Restoring Aura, or pardon me, the Cleansing Ritual skill. It lasts for quite a while. It's a massive 12-meter radius, and then it just heals you while it's on the ground, and you get the benefit of the Sacred Ground. So it will increase your block mitigation by 10%. So that's an easy way to get to the block mitigation cap as well. You're pretty close to the very top of it. Another way is you can use the Daedric Summoning and use the Bound Armaments mitigation here. It doesn't last very long. However, it is really potent in terms of giving you block mitigation as well. So those two things are something you can think of. These are a little bit more permanent and not so much as fluid as the others. So just keep that in mind. But moving on, that's how I would suggest getting block mitigation into your build. I think I'm probably going to end the video here, and I'm going to talk about managing stamina in the last video, because that'll be quite a little bit of a more broad explanation on how I handle that. There are several ways you can do that, and I think it'd be best to do that as on its own. Somebody did ask me to go over some sets. So really quickly, I will just kind of cover. I do have an extensive playlist on my channel for tanking videos. If you have not taken a look at those, I will link that in the description, and I would encourage you to take a look at it. There's quite a few videos on there. I believe I have around 30 or so that relate to tanking. So just to cover, I have videos on this build here, the Glacial Echoes build, as well as the Mighty Pearl. Actually, this is kind of this is the newer build that I have for off tanking. I had an older one that used a different set, and I think this one is a little bit better. So, and then I also have a Rush of Genius. This is my dungeon build here. But what I recommend for tanking for PvE, for trials especially, for starting out with your trials sets, I recommend having Pearlescent Ward on the off tank. That way it gives your group weapon damage as well as a defensive. And the reason why I put this on the off tank is because there's no really distance restriction. It's 28 meters pretty much, and then you get the benefit. It doesn't matter where your off tank stands, they can move around. They don't have to be taunting the enemy or necessarily doing damage or anything like that. It's just a very easy way to give your off tank the minor Aegis buff, and then give them a very good tank set to use and keep them mobile. Now, I recommend that the main tank wear the Lucent Echoes set, and the reason why I recommend them to have that on instead is because of the mitigation that they get should they drop down below 50%. Then you get that reduced damage taken, which is a different category than block mitigation. You need to keep that in mind. Block mitigation is different than damage taken, or I should say damage reduced. So keep that in mind. Those two are different things, and this can be very helpful for a main tank. And if you're above 50% health, then you are giving your entire team 11% critical damage and critical healing as long as they are within 28 meters of you. If you put this set on your main tank and Pearlescent Ward on your off tank, then both of them will benefit from the minor Aegis buff, and your entire team will be getting buffs from this the entire time. Now, for dungeon sets, for trials, I recommend the set out of Frostvault, the Mighty Glacier set. I've done a video on this and why I recommend this. I've had some people tell me that this is a waste of a 5-piece set. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. The amount of damage that DPS are doing in the subclassing world now, it is more important to keep them alive, and this gives you an ability to give your entire team major resolve without having to be pigeonholed into using the Winter's Embrace skill line. So this right here is very helpful. I use this on my off-tank build because, again, you can proc this pretty much anywhere, even out of combat it will work. So I have a video on this as well as it's covered in my off-tank build. So check that video out and the other video as well if you want. Those are all on my playlist. The other 5-piece set that I recommend for my main tank setup is this Glacial Guardian set. This is very niche. Nobody I have ever seen talk about this, and I think it can be a very, very powerful tool. Basically, all you have to do is block an enemy and stay within 8 meters of them. As a main tank, you're pretty much going to be doing that anyway. You can bar swap, so this is a very good set to run with Lucent Echoes because you can single bar this. You can put it on your back bar, block on your back bar. As soon as you see the tether, you can go back to your front bar and you're just fine. This increases the status effect chance taken for the enemy that you are tethering and any other enemy that touches the tether. Again, I've covered this set. I have another playlist for set overviews. I think I'll tag that in the description as well in case you want to go find that video. But I believe it's also in my tank playlist as well. For monster sets, for trials, for ad pulls, don't sleep on this one. Swarm Mother is amazing for pulling in ads. All you have to do is be blocking, and enemies that are anywhere from 8 to 22 meters away from you will be yanked in automatically and taunted. It's very nice to kind of help grab ads really quickly. As an off tank, you can taunt one, taunt a second one. This will yank something in. If you're using the Necro Major Resolve skill, that can yank something in. You can really grab stuff together really quickly, crazy fast if you use these tools for ad pulls. The quicker you can yank stuff together and everybody's dropping their AoEs on it, the quicker everything's going to die. So keep that in mind. If you can yank stuff together really quickly, it's going to help quite a bit. So for boss fights, I recommend the main tank to wear Baron Zaudrus. I have a video on this as well. This is a great, absolute awesome monster set for generating ultimate for your main tank so that they can get their magma shell back up, or perhaps barrier for the group, whatever the case may be, whatever they're running. The other tank could also run that if they need to, but I oftentimes will recommend running this Lord Warden here. Is very nice to help your group stay alive. It gives them another 3,000 resistances whenever you take damage, which this will proc constantly. I have displayed this in a video as well on my channel. I've covered every single one of these sets, and I've built a team construction that basically fits together very well. And with that in mind, it's meant to keep the DPS alive and doing damage, and that's probably the most important thing now in the subclassing world. You can probably get a lot of speed runs done, or just cut some time off your trial altogether if you keep all your DPS up and running, rather than somebody having to stop and get a res. Um, but I'm going to end the video there. I'm going to work on getting the fourth and final video done for this series and see if I can button it up and move on to the next subject. Thank you everybody for watching. Check out my YouTube channel for the playlists that I've mentioned. Especially give a look for those songs. They're a lot of fun. I guarantee you'll like it if you're into this game, even half as much as I am. Trust me, there are different styles of songs in there. So they're not all one type. There is probably something there for everybody. Give them a listen, give them a look. If you like them, you can make your own playlist and listen to them while you're playing the game even. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.